Hello and welcome to this Explain tutorial. Today I'll be teaching you how to animate stuff in Blender for Explain. So you can see I've set up my hanger here and everything is added, like the lights, and I've textured the objects and so on. But now to animate these doors. I want these doors to be animated so it reveals the modeled interior inside. So I will use this dataref tool to create animations. So first of all, we'll want to animate our object in Blender first. I'll do this by adding keyframes. So hit I to add a keyframe. Move along in the timeline. Then open the door. I'll move it along the y-axis by -11. You can do this by GY -11. And you can see we've got an animation set up, Blender. Now I'll want the door to stay in this position for a while, and we'll add another keyframe. These orange lines represent that the object is staying still, it isn't transforming. Add another keyframe over here when the door is closed. Then I'll move further down over to 1600 and hit another keyframe so the door remains closed for a while. The animation will be looped so you can play it and it'll start opening again at the beginning. And now I'll just have to animate the other door. You can see I've got an animation set up. When I move this cursor around the timeline, you can see the doors opening and closing. If I play it, then it's at the speed it'll be in. In fact, you could only use 4 keyframes for this. I'll explain later, but I prefer to do it at the actual speed it's going to be, because then you can do a preview of what the animation is going to look like in Explain. To translate the Blender animation into an Explain animation, you'll have to install the Explain to Blender plugin for a Blender, which has tons of different export options that you can use. We'll be using datarefs for this. So select the object, go to Object Properties, then add a dataref. You can select your dataref here by typing in the name, and for this I'll be using the total flight time in seconds dataref. This is a very common dataref used for scenery animation, which in this case it is. So for every keyframe in Blender, you'll add a dataref keyframe. You can set the value, and for this it'll be the number of seconds of the flight. So at this point the value is only 0 because the flight just started and the hangar is closed. Then if I go over to this keyframe where the doors open, I'll add another keyframe, but this time the value will be around 40 seconds because it took 40 seconds for the door to open. Now I'll just keep adding keyframes and the number of seconds where the keyframe is. So here's going to be 80, or I'll do 81, so it's more random and realistic. If you head over here, you can see the value of the dataref going up or down. Then I'll add a dataref over here when the doors are closed. This will be 122. Then continue adding dataref keyframes until you are done animating your object. By the way, this also works for aircraft animation, but you'll use other datarefs for it. Now time to animate the second door. At this point, now our animation is soon done. And we have added dataref keyframes. Now the final step is to add the keyframe loop. For this dataref, it needs to have a loop value, because then after the animation ends, it'll just not work again. But I want this to loop. I want the door to open, and close forever, or until the flight ends. And to do that, I'll simply add in the ending value, which is 166 seconds, or 1 minute and 46 seconds, and I'll type it in here. Same for this door. And with that, our animation is done. Now time to set up the object for export. I am using Xplane to Blender for this, as previously mentioned. And I have everything set up. The defined textures over here and other settings. So I'll just export it. And it's over here. Now you can see in the object, if we scroll down to the bottom, all the animation stuff is here. Now as you can see in Xplane, it's all working. Thank you for watching this tutorial. I hope you come back next time. Fly safe.